Good evening. Today is October 21st, 2009. It is 5:37 p.m. This is a regular board meeting of the Brownsville Navigation District. I hereby call this meeting to order. Reverend, would you lead us in an invocation here?
Father, we begin this evening by thanking you, for you say that we should come into your courts with thanksgiving. We thank you for this meeting tonight. We thank you for this commission, for this administration, for the city, for the congressmen, Ortiz and Oberstar, who were here recently, Lord God. Father, we thank you for the wonderful things that you're doing in our midst. May this meeting tonight and the discussion tonight contribute to your blessing and the plans and the future that you have for this port. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
And before we begin, do we have any public audience comments?
Yes, sir, we do. Reyes Martinez Jr. from Signet Maritime.
Okay. Let's have Mr. Reyes come up.
Good evening, Chairman,
Good evening.
Board of Commissioners, Mr. Capirano, Mr. Seymour. Thank you for the opportunity to let me speak. On behalf of Signet Maritime Corporation, I would like to thank the Port of Brownsville for allowing us to serve the port for the past 11 years. We appreciate your approval of the harbor tug renewal license and look forward to providing you excellent tug service. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Item 3, receive Port Director's Report. Item A, receive Port Monthly Operations Summary Report.
Mr. Capirano, before we begin, I just want to recognize some folks that are here from the Brownsville leadership. Blanca Perez Moreno, and there's a couple of other folks here. We'd like to recognize you here. Thank you for
Standing
being
and
here
introduce
tonight.
themselves.
Thank you.
If you would
Thank you for having us.
Can you introduce yourselves? Just those that we didn't catch a name on?
Marcia Seltzer.
Okay.
Blanca Perez Moreno. Thank you for having us.
Steve Holscher.
Thank y'all for being here.
This is a monthly operations report, so we'll go ahead and do the financial, and then we'll do the construction activity report. So on the financial and just general statistical information report, I'll ask Debbie to go ahead and make that presentation.
Our operating income on some of the report that you have before you was $208,000. This was for the month of August. That results in operating revenues of $827,000, operating expenses of $619,000, which means that our net operating income to date is $2.95 million. Net income after depreciation, other income and expense is $4.75 million. This month actually did result in our first net loss after depreciation and everything else of about $54,000. And that's the first one we've experienced this year, and we're still doing real well up through August. The budget figures that you have on your report are the new amended budget that we adopted last meeting. Cargo statistics are running still 1 million tons behind. I'm sorry?
Back up on that? I don't.
We got August here.
We're looking at August 2009, right?
Yes.
And you're saying that we show a net loss?
The month itself was a net loss, year to date.
The month of August?
The month of August.
Okay, which page is that on?
Still don't see
It's
that.
page 1 through 5 here, and would you tell me what page that?
We show income of well, if you're comparing it to current budget, we actually exceeded current budget expectations.
Year to date.
Right.
you
But
don't
there's
actually
no-
have the month
But there is
itself.
no,
There's not a negative on here.
There's nothing here that reflects that in
No,
this
the
report.
month itself is not here. You have year to date compared to budget.
okay, well then,
But the actual single individual.
okay, okay.
Is a little
Don't
behind.
shock me like that. I'm looking at,
Year to date, we're still doing very well. This month was a little bump.
And this other report here, this,
That's the new report. We're still working on it. It's a work in
Okay.
progress, and it shows
it gives us a breakdown on how much we're making on each vessel.
each vessel.
Good,
And
a
we
unit
grouped them
cost
by-
accounting, we'll
Yes.
appreciate that. That way we can know how much the different docks are producing and so on.
And that will come. We're still
Yeah.
getting it to break down by dock.
this
but-
is strictly by vessel. It doesn't give you.
Yeah, but we know whether it's heavy cargo or
Yeah.
if it's liquid cargo. Those are the two main deals. Which one of the docks doesn't really make a whole lot of difference, as long as we know the two types of cargo.
Yes, and that report is attached to the hearing. It kind of shows you what one vessel does.
Yes, we are. Yeah. This is the one that Commissioner Cowan is talking about, which is the vehicle revenue report. It's broken down by vessel for the month, and then it's broken down by whether it's a cargo, tanker, barge, or other vessel. But yes, you're right. For the year-to-date, we are very, very good. In fact, we had $800,000 in more revenues this month than we had last month. So our revenue standpoint, we're doing very well.
We held an eye on expenses. It was just at the very end, our other income is a little off. Actually, our interest income is down. We're spending a lot of money on capital projects, so not making as much interest. Cargo statistics are running a million tons behind last year's. That's where we were last month. In August, in September, we had 426,000 metric tons, and September of 2008, we're at 438, so we're about what we were doing last year at this time. And that was a little bit of an increase over what August was, and we should see in September's revenues that should be reflected.
Is my understanding that from talking to some of the stevedores and admiralty people that, harbor master, that we have ships that are scheduled to come in that will be bringing in quite a bit of more tonnage, that we'll see some good increases in the next month throughout the end of the year, which should help our financial picture considerably.
We already saw in September an uptick in the cargo, and we're expecting to continue.
And not only vessel, you're also seeing car counts are going to go up, trucks are going to go up. I mean, we've been busy this month, and it's going to continue. Let me get back to the comment about how we did for the month. And I'm assuming what you're saying, Debbie, is that we spent more money than what we brought in, but that's not on the O&M side. It's
Not on
because
the
we've got a
O&M.
lot of capital projects
That's correct.
that we are having to pay for, and I just want to qualify that, because that
We're not
just
borrowing
means
any
that,
money.
no, but that means that we are writing checks from our capital accounts that we have had for quite some time. So now we're spending that money. It isn't that. I just want to be clear that from an O&M standpoint, we're not spending more money than we're taking in. So
O&M is still, and typally we don't.
I mean,
Typically, we lose money on the O&M.
Just for the general public that's out there watching this on television, O&M is operation
Right.
and maintenance.
I just don't want people to think that the port is spending more money than it's taking in because it's O&M. We're essentially writing a lot of checks because we have a lot of capital projects, and so you're starting to see, that capital expenditure, reflected on the
We're
books.
reinvesting back in the
Right.
port. As
Yes, and the value of our assets.
Much better way to say
But
it.
the value of our assets, overall assets, are
Will increase.
increasing. And we've enhanced those assets many more times than the dollars that we're investing in them. So I think that we're on the right track. I know we're on the right track there.
Debbie, just one question on the overweight permit. I know you have this year. Do you have any information on what it compares to for last year?
I don't. I can get that for you. I believe it's a little behind.
I would assume so. I was just curious, since our vessel count is down quite a bit, I'm assuming our permits are going to be down as well.
We've taken some of that out because of the fact that we're now sending the money to TxDOT, so I really don't have a lot of stats for you anymore. We used to tell you how much we had, but we don't have anything left.
We get to keep, what, 5% for handling or admin or something, or how much? You get a
We
little
get to
bit.
keep 15%, which is about $4.50, and we pay $2 of that to the upcoming administration on money. So we keep about $2.50 out of each $30 plan.
I knew we had a little bit of that administration fees on those. But there again, you
I
gotta
can
hire
tell you
somebody to
that
do it
for the
too,
last
so.
couple of months, we've been steady on overweight permits, and quite a bit difference between June and July. And I suspect July, August, September, they're going to continue. We've had a lot of truck traffic. I mean, we've got one of the things, if we've been very busy, but what you will notice is inventory isn't sitting at the port. It's going out, and it's going out by truck, it's going out by rail, and it's been very, very steady.
We should like $6,700 in permits today.
Yes.
Just today? One day, yeah.
You had what now?
I think it was 62 or 6750, because we wire transferred the money out, I signed the wire, so I mean, just today in permits, because we do it on a daily basis.
That's good.
That's good news.
That's right, y'all were looking for me to sign the check. You finally got Commissioner Melissa.
On the construction side, okay, Ariel, here's your
My point?
Bird time, really?
Thank you, Debbie.
Here we go with the presentation.
And Debbie, thank you for this report. This is a,
We're still working on it. We've got some more programming going in, and we'll bring you down.
I'll get it.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission of the Brownsville Irrigation District. Our construction report for this month basically is there's been, as you know, a lot of activity in the project, but there's some things that I think you're gonna see here that are you've been seeing this in the recent past. Here we have the modular structure of the Seamen Center. I always mispronounce that.
Administrator.
And well, we wanted to be a little euphemistic on the nomenclature there. And of course, that's the structure that was there.
Definitely seen better days.
But here is the structure that's already been removed. Of course, our buildings in the background. And these are our crews that are working here, taking care of the structure removal. And at the end here, they're just basically dressing the area up and cleaning up everything. I don't know whether the removal is good news or bad news, but it's what
That's
happens.
great news.
Yes, it
Takes
is.
an eyesore right out.
Well, depends, I guess, on the, I think in the long run it is, and hopefully we'll get a better place for that to take place within the port area. And this is just the dress up. The other project, another project here that we're talking about, we've been talking about the traffic striping of Redfish Road. I don't know if you've been out there, but one of my missions today is to bring you to the site by pictures. So here's the striping, looking at Redfish Road from the west to the east. And then here's a look from the, I'm sorry, the other one was from the, from the west to the east. This is looking back to the west.
And that completes the project, and essentially, is with a couple of signage issues, and that's it.
Well, yes. One of the things that I wanted to do is, I've always been very satisfied, as you know, in my prior practice with the signage that the city of Brownsville produces. So this morning I actually went and talked to Robert Esparza to get prices for the signs, and the price that he gave us was $307 for all the signage that's there, which is 3 big stop signs, 2 speed limit signs, and 3 street name signs. And he's giving it to us at cost, so that's very, very economical, and I'm pretty sure that's what we're gonna go with. And those are quality signs, they're very sturdy. He's gonna give us the brackets to adapt to the TxDOT, because we're putting TxDOT grade pipes for the signs. And those are a little bit different than the ones the city uses, but he has the adapters for us to use the cap. So anyway, that's what that is for this project.
thank you, Robert.
Yes. Here, one of the things that I started doing when I first came in is I got really concerned about the electrical panels on the lift station. So what we did is we started doing some of the replacements. This is a brand new panel on the U-Pull-It lift station. As you can see, this is fiberglass encasement. We had debated between using fiberglass and stainless steel. We still have that debate going on internally, but this one we selected to go with fiberglass. And this is a little bit of a different look, a little bit further back. As you can see, we still need work over here. That's part of the, that's one of the next steps that we're doing. We're gonna redo some of the piping there and redo the whole base for the lift station. If you're familiar with the site, U-Pull-It covered their site with about 18 inches of limestone, and that obviously created a great situation for us here. So we are going to concrete around our lift station to compensate for that, and that's going to give us a much more solid base for the lift station. The panel was set in, I don't know if you can see it down here, but we set concrete bases on the panel that raised it enough for us to do the concrete that we want to do. The other one that we did is lift station number 1. This is one on the fishing harbor. We replaced, this is, you can see this is a stainless steel panel. These are stainless steel panels, believe it or not, but because this panel was not stainless steel before, the rust was washing over. So these are in good shape, they just look bad. We're going to be cleaning them up and dressing them up as well. They're not going to look as shiny as this one, but they're going to look better than they do now. The other thing here is we replaced the weather head as well. And here we put 2 new starters for the pumps. And what we're doing is we're going to the automated starters and switches, which alternate automatically alternates the pumps, rather than doing it manually, which is the way that it was being done before. And since this is being done through electricians and we're getting the equipment directly, obviously, you know, we're doing it at a savings to the port. Another project that we have, and this is actually an item on your agenda today, is new quarters for our wastewater crew. I don't know if we can shut the camera down because I don't know if they want to see this, but this is where our crew currently has their office, over at the fishing harbor. This is the front of it with a little door. And if you can imagine this door being a 2.5-foot door, you can see how big or small this little office is. This is another look from the left and from the, basically from the left side. And then this is a little bit of a look inside, so everything is sort of crammed in there. And that's all that fits in there, a little desk. So what we're trying to do is get the guy something more like this, which is going to give him an office on this side, an office on the other side, and an area in the middle. Some of you may know, in fact, we have this item on the budget. We've had it, you know, for the entire.
We carried it over from last year. But you know, those pictures may kind of tell you that the space is very confined. What they don't tell you is how badly the condition of those buildings are. I mean, they are.
And I did have some pictures, but I didn't
they're pretty bad. I mean, it's pretty embarrassing.
I've seen them, but they are.
Now the other thing is, there's 6 people that operate out of that little office. So this is gonna give us, obviously, you know, the room that these guys actually need to work. Now, one of the reasons that I hadn't pushed this was because my goal had been to allow this item to stay in the budget and then add some more money in this budget year to build them an office. But with the uncertainties of the economy, I decided to go ahead and do this at this time and get them there. And if it takes us 10 years, at least they're going to have a good office now. So, and that's what we're doing. A lot of the other stuff that we have here upcoming is things that you are already familiar with. The construction of Patio 20. I showed you this picture a month ago, which is the original subgrade on September 22. I showed it to you on September 23. This is what it looks like now. The first layer, the first 12-inch layer of limestone, which has been laid in 2 different layers, 2 6-inch layers, was completed actually a little bit earlier. The picture was shot on October 20th, but this was already completed, and now we're going to put the geogrid on this layer and then add the other 12 inches above that. This is a view. This is a picture I showed you a month ago with the geogrid on the subgrade, and this is the picture from the same angle, looking at the limestone back towards the west. This I decided to leave it. This is things that you already see, and all the different things that we are saving by doing these things ourselves. So you know, this is what we're doing within. This is our fiscal implications for the construction of patio number 20. Another project, of course, is the Fishing Harbor Roads project. Now again, here I'm going to take you on a little bit of a tour. There's several slides here because I wanted to show you every single one of the streets of the fishing harbor, the way that they turned out. Now, this project, before I go into this, is not completed yet because the signage is still pending. They finished the striping, and there's 3 or 4 minor punch list items that they need to address for me. But this is Fisherman's Place Road looking to the south. I stood in the middle, tried to get on top of my truck to get a little bit of a high angle. But, and then the other shot was to the south. This shot is to the north, looking towards State Highway 48. This is Gator Court, which is the angle on the south side on the coming in. This is Cajun Court, which is the 2nd Street coming in from the east towards the west. Looking south towards the ship channel. The ship channel is back over here. This one is the same, just looking back to the north. This is 48 over here on the back. As you can see, all the striping was done, and it looks very, very elegant. Of course, you can see some of the driveways that were done as well.
Only a street engineer would look at it that way. Beautiful. It's quite romantic.
Well, I love what I do, and I love the way. This is Everglades Road. This is the road that parallels 48. This is Highway 48. Here's a view from the east looking west. I'm standing close to the guard shack that's there, and then this is a look in the other direction, looking east from the same location. Tried to cover the whole thing. This next one is Bayou Court. This is, I don't know if you can read it there, it's Oil Patch. And this is a look towards the channel again, and then this is the look up towards 48 of the same street. Again, you can see the new driveways and everything. It looks obviously way, way cleaner than it did before. This is the last street over on the west side, Angler's Place, looking south. That's Felglow Inc. In fact, that's one of the punch list items. Right in front of Felglow, there's a little bit of a repair that needs to be completed. And you know, again, you know, it looks very complete. This is a view towards the north, towards the highway. And this is the last street on the south side, Dry Dock Court, looking to the east from the, you know, standing at the angle and looking east. So you've seen the whole thing, it's all done. All we need to get is the signage completed. They already set the basis for the sign. These are the breakaway bases for the signs as required by TxDOT, and they just need to come and bring the rest of it. They should do that within the next, probably by the middle of next week, they should be done with the signs. Of course, the fiscal implications is something you've already seen. I just decided to keep it in there, the bids that we received, the savings, and then let's see, we did change order number 1 and change order number 2 that we did last time. I don't think I included change order number 2 here, so we still have a savings from the current total. What I anticipate is we're going to come back with another change order. In fact, I received a pay draw that I'm still ironing out the final quantities with the contractor because there's one item in there that was a little bit higher than I expected, and I need to just make sure that I can justify that expense to you, and then we'll bring it back next board meeting, which is going to be the first meeting in November. And there's an item on your agenda today, which is a progress payment to them. That payment still includes the 10% retainer, so we've only approved the amount of things that we are comfortable with. That particular item, I knocked out the amounts that they that I was still not completely happy with, so we've let that out. The last, here's the internal roads project. This is very little for me to report to you. We've been progressing. And I just want to show you this picture. The PUB has started on the pole relocation, so that's something that we're already in process of doing. There's been a little bit of an issue there of coordination. I got a call a few minutes ago about, you know, why are you stopping us now? But, you know, we're trying to set a proper procedure for them to come in and let us know what they're doing. All the pole locations on the south side have been verified by our crews. The only portion that by our staff, I should say, the only thing that I still have an issue to resolve is on Oil Dock Road, because we have some poles that are going to be a little bit too close to the road. But I have the solution for that, which is putting the low profile walls that will protect people from hitting the obstructions. And then, of course, the fiscal implications of that you already know. We've already seen all of this, the low bid, like Ballinger Paving, the 3 bids that we received, the savings on bids, some of the expenses that we would have in addition to the bid. And there's one item on your agenda today that includes some relocations of lift stations that we have to do because they're going to be in the way of the widening. So we're going to have to move that, and there's that on the agenda today as well. And the last thing that I wanted to just give you a brief report on was the Tiger Ranch projects. Of course, this is a map that you've already seen that shows the different projects that we have, which everybody is fairly familiar with. On Dock 6, let's see, this is the Old Dock 6. On Old Dock 6, we had a meeting basically with the consultant last week. They spent here Thursday and Friday, and on Friday we had an informal workshop with several of the directors, and basically they showed us this rendering, which this is a little bit of an update on the rendering of Old Dock number 6. We made some decisions regarding the catwalks that we're going to be using, some of the pattern of the parking areas over here. And we have an issue to finalize regarding the location of piping next to the rail that we've been discussing with BRG, but everything's progressing very, very smoothly.
Before you leave that one, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, when you're having these meetings regarding the catwalks and the structure, are you inviting the users?
I was going to respond to that.
Oh, okay.
I was going to tell you, that's exactly what I was going to say, is that we have gotten a lot of input from the users.
Okay.
And many, this doc does reflect a lot of adjustments from the original that was based on input. We haven't accepted each and every one of the recommendations or suggestions. We've done most of the major. In fact, if you were to compare this with the original, you'll see quite a bit of changes. On some of them, we've relied on the final recommendation from our engineer, but for the most part, yes, they've been involved, and we have accepted their suggestions and recommendations.
Good.
And of course, on dock number 16, basically, you're familiar with that. One of the issues that we needed to finalize on dock 16 was the rail, and that's really the main reason I wanted to show you this particular slide. This is the final rail configuration that was determined for the area of dock 15 and dock 16. In fact, this is the way that it was submitted on the Tiger Grant. The only thing that we needed to determine or decide with the consultant was the location of the rail, and that has basically been done.
Well, there's a couple other things on this, though, that we also made a decision on. One is that when we were looking at this thing originally, we were looking at the base bid of another 600 feet for dock 16 and an alternate bid to fill in the 300 feet. We felt it was pretty clear that our intent, both in how we submitted the app and how we wanted to approach, was to essentially build an additional 900 feet of dock space to the existing. So our instructions to the design engineers, essentially from how they're going to put the contract bid package together, was to go ahead and put it out all inclusive for 900 feet. And the reason we did that is because if you break it up, we felt that might create some issues on how we go out and bid it in the future. And so if our intent is to add 900 feet to it, then we felt we needed to be really clear to the prospective bidders that that's what we wanted. So that was one. The second one is that we kind of want to mention to you a little bit is that we had talked about putting rail on the dock for the purposes of container crane. And, we've gone back and looked at that repeatedly. The electric galt wall crane that we have in the Tiger Grant is on rails. We have another proposal that would be a kind of hybrid crane that is both diesel and electric, and that one isn't on rails. We still feel that a mobile crane, using it with wheels, is going to give us a lot more flexibility than putting in a rail crane because once you put a rail crane in there, you're not going to move it. Yeah,
it's
it's going to
gonna
stay
stay
there. And we're really talking about 1,500 feet. And so consequently, that could have some impact on our ability to have a lot of flexibility on that dock. So that's kind of one of the issues that we're still working on. But I want to make you aware, because, you know, when we finally do the final bid specs, we may have to make a decision between whether we actually want rail on it or we want to go to they do make container cranes that are on wheels. Doesn't have to be rail, so we're still toying with that idea.
My question would be, one of the things that I know that the shipper and the logistics people are looking at is the amount of time that it takes to unload that ship. So how much is this going to slow or speed? I mean, how is this going to affect the speed with which we can unload a ship or load a ship?
Well, I can tell you right now, and I can't tell you the difference between using our mobile harbor crane right now versus a specific container crane. I can tell you that right now, the most expeditious manner for us to unload those vessels is using our mobile harbor crane. And so we want to maintain the flexibility, because we could have, in one case, you know, it isn't always going to be containers. It isn't going to be necessarily a dedicated container dock. You may have two, you know, steel vessels and they can both work them at the same time. So, but we haven't, we're still looking at that. But you know, we'll have to make a final determination whether or not to put rail in the dock or go with a mobile harbor crane that gives us that flexibility to be able to use it for various purposes.
Mr. Chavez, if in the future, let's say the port has a couple of real good years, and we need some more warehouse space next shed 15E, wouldn't you limit the area if you put the track there?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's existing, this green line is existing rail. See, there's rail right here that serves the back side of the sheds, and all we're doing is coming off of here. So, you know, essentially they would need to remove this whole leg to extend the sheds over here, or they can place sheds on this other side.
The original plans, when they had the plans for Dock 16, there was some thought about doing another warehouse on that pad. You know, whether or not we'll do that, we'll determine in the future. Right now, we felt it was better to leave it open for as much work as possible, but it would have to be over there.
Now, another important point here is that the rail that would need to be placed here, preparation for that rail is going to probably cost $1 million or more.
That's the other consideration.
Because the basis for that rail, the concrete base for that concrete mounted rail or concrete embedded rail, the preparation for that type of loading directly on the rail is going to require some special concrete design that will cost at least $1 million according to the estimate by the consultant. So
that would be just for the container crane.
Exactly.
That's why we're not sure we want to limit it just to that.
And see, the other issue that I wanted to bring to your attention, and I don't have photographs of that. I might if I look really hard, but Mr. Garza and I had the opportunity to go visit the what was that called? The Bayport container terminal over near Houston, and all their equipment is rubber tire. Everything that they have, the gantries, they have these huge gantries on the docks, and they're rubber mounted, they're rubber tire, and they just have striping that controls. And they have automated gantry cranes on the place where they store the containers, and they have them spaced and everything, and they automate. They basically, with automation, they have movement on those cranes, and they pick what they need to lift, and then the truck comes in and they drop it in. It's incredible how they do it. And but again, all of that is rubber tired gantries. So the fact that we, the fact that you know, the rail is not a necessity, but it will be an expense that will also cause a limitation to us. So my inclination would be to stick to the rubber tire gantry.
What is the difference in price, just ballpark figure, between a rubber tired gantry crane and a rail gantry crane?
Don't know. Haven't priced it.
Anybody
Well,
have, just a
my-
ballpark?
In my conversations with the consultant, there's not that much of a difference between them. In fact, they seem to be more inclined to think that the hybrid crane that we're talking about would be less expensive also than the fully electric crane. And it'd be easier to operate, and it also would be easier to move around, and it can function on both diesel and batteries. You know, you say batteries, but that's batteries because it's electric, it's on batteries. So it's in the way that Mike described it as, it's similar to the, what is this hybrid?
Prius.
The Prius from Toyota. And I've driven one. And
I have too.
It's really neat. It's
They don't work
really
very
neat. It's
good
all
for
computerized. It even tells you when it engages the gas and when it goes. So I mean, it's really good. So
It's like a computer game.
yeah. So you know, that's something that yeah, it stays with the green technology. Now, of course, you know, you've seen these numbers before. I just wanted to put them up on the screen once again, and I do apologize because I didn't get a new nature shot. My nature shot was the same one that I had last time, but
That's good.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
You're not supposed to use shot, though. They already did
yes, I know. I was presenting this, and I said I shot this in the ship channel, and some gentleman from the Coast Guard, you shot it?
They shot it.
Arrest that man.
I think you should say you photographed it.
Mr.
So
Chavez,
that concludes, yes, sir.
on the lift station,
Yes.
what's the reason why you went to fiberglass, that panel? Is it,
Well, we wanted to see the difference between the fiberglass and the
Stainless steel.
I'm strongly inclined to fiberglass because I come from PUB, and PUB has all there's a special
What about cost?
NEMA 4 fiberglass.
What about
The
cost?
fiberglass is cheaper than the stainless steel,
Wow, that's good.
and you know.
They don't rust.
And the thing is, the port had some exceptions with fiberglass because I think they were using the NEMA 2, and those are not as strong or as resistive as the NEMA 4, which is the ones that PUB uses. So, am I saying the nomenclature correct? Or?
Right.
Yes, there you go.
I thought you were gonna say those were more elegant.
Well, they are. And that concludes the report, unless there's any additional questions.
No. Good show.
Calling him Mr. Elegant.
That concludes the court director's
Very elegant dolphins.
Item number 4, consideration and action on the following consent agenda items. A, approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of October 7, 2009. B, approval to authorize payments over $25,000. Item 1, Vulcan Materials, payment Patio 20 limestone in the amount of $46,030.79. Item 2, HDR Dock 3 evaluation in the amount of $8,288.79. Item 3, HDR Cargo Dock 6 in the amount of $163,027. Item 4, HDR Oil Dock 6 in the amount of $56,524.65. Item 5, HDR Feasibility Study in the amount of $7,427.09. Item 6, G&P Paving, Fishing Harbor Roads in the amount of $323,912.39.
I have a question. The feasibility, is that on the widening and deepening?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions on any of these items?
So move.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Cowan, seconded by Commissioner Reed. All those in favor?
Okay, item number 5.
Item carries.
Item number 5, consideration and adoption of a resolution approving a bond resolution to be adopted by the Board of Directors of the Southmost Regional Water Authority, authorizing the issuance of 2 series of obligation designated as Southmost Regional Water Authority Water Supply Contract Revenue Bond Series 2009A and Southmost Regional Water Authority Water Supply Contract Revenue Bond Series 2009B, approving an amendment to the water supply contract between the Brownsville Navigation District and the Southmost Regional Water Authority, authorizing the chairman or the secretary of the Brownsville Navigation District to execute on behalf of the Brownsville Navigation District documents in connection with the transaction and other matters in connection therewith.
That pretty much says what we need. This is a bond transaction. We had a presentation at the last board meeting regarding the project that they're going to be financing with this. In your backup, I did go through and run some numbers for you to see what the impact of participating and not participating is. I think the additional cost to the district is going to be about $12,500 per year. Over the course of the project is $812,905. Although this would, the additional capacity, if they're able to reach these numbers or anywhere close, would then enable us to get enough product out of there to start making a profit or at least breaking even. So there's questions about some of the terms in there. I have looked at those and made some corrections to some of the things in there.
Daniel, you looked at all this?
Yeah, in fact, I had some questions and they've been answered. The main question I had was, are we obligated on the bonds themselves? So if another entity defaulted, we'd have to pick up that share, and the answer was no, we're not. We're obligated on the contract, but we don't owe the bonds directly.
Just obligated to take water.
And to pay our share of the bonds to the authority.
But if the authority couldn't come up with the rest of the money, we wouldn't have to pay that.
Correct.
I think we had a good presentation on this at the last meeting, and basically it's gonna almost double the capacity of the
Water.
production of our water at that plant, and that's Blackish water. We got a motion by Commissioner Lopez,
I'd like to second that motion.
seconded by Commissioner Cowan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item carries.
Item number 6.
Thank you, Leandro and Judy, for attending. No, that's right.
Item number 6, consideration and action on the application for a renewal of the Harbor Tug Operator's License from Signet Tugs, Inc.
Signet Tug has a 3-year license with the district to provide harbor tug service. It's going to expire in November on the 30th. They finally had and made their application to be renewed, and it's ready to go. Asking the board for their consideration of this.
They've already paid all their fees and
They have paid their fee and
filed all their insurance, I've done all the things they need to do.
it's
I so move that we do that.
Is this
a 3-year license.
3-year? I thought we just renewed this.
Seems like it, but
Right? It seems like it just.
Well, we
renewed
did,
this
if you
thing.
remember, the last action actually had to do to amend the tariff for increases, not renewing their license.
Oh, okay.
And
they
this
didn't
is not
actually-
exclusive. I mean, it's a licensing procedure that we have, and Signet is following the renewal of their license.
Okay. And did somebody make a motion?
I did.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Collins, second by Commissioner Reed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item carries.
Item number 7, consideration and action on ratifying signature authority to designate a grantee official to accept grant award from the Department of Homeland Security in the amount of $66,126 on behalf of the Brownsville Navigation District. Last, I think 2 board meetings ago, I reported to you that we did receive some funding on the last grant under the supplemental, but it was in the amount of $66,000. That was for a camera system in Harlingen. Under that grant, we had to accept the award by October the 21st, so I had to go ahead and sign it and send it back. We got a letter authorizing the Port of Harlingen, well, saying from the Port of Harlingen that they accepted all the terms of the grant and that they were willing to comply with the grant. And they sent that to us, so I faxed that in with the authorization under the grant. They are hiring our RMA to oversee the project there as well. So RMA does our financial reporting, so they're gonna do all of it, so it should be very seamless.
And that'll be at their expense, not ours.
Right.
Make a motion, we go ahead and approve that.
Who would be the official designated grant, that's gonna
We've
accept
been
the grant?
designating Donna as.
Donna?
Yes.
Okay, and we got a motion by Commissioner Cowan, seconded by Commissioner Lopez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item carries.
Item number 8, consideration and action on an agreement concerning the calculation of the monthly water bill for water services by Brownsville PUB to Brownsville Navigation District.
We're going to ask that you table this. This time we're, still have some questions on it that we need to look at.
Okay, do we have a motion to table?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion to table and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
The item is tabled.
Item number 9, consideration and action to authorize port staff to advertise for bids on the Ostis Road lift station relocations as required by the BND internal road project.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, of the Navigation District, my item on this particular point is something I mentioned during the presentation. And this is the relocation of lift stations that are in the way of the widening of Ostos Road. There's one lift station that's right in front of dock 13. Let's see, 10, 11, 12, 13, right in the south side of 13. And it comes in a little bit into the road. We need to move that one back. And there's another one down past dock 15. And there's another one actually down almost at the end of on the curve, and 2 of those 3 are going to need to be relocated, and on one of them all we're doing is relocating just the electrical panel or upgrading it. That one I didn't bring that one because we have budget. We budgeted for the panels like we saw, the 2 that we saw. We budgeted for those to take place, so those I'm handling through that particular budget item. But these are something that the relocation of them is a different situation, and we do have to move them out of the way of the widening, and that's why we'd like for you to authorize us to advertise for bids for that.
Just a matter of correction, your recommendation
Right.
is incorrect.
Let's see.
You.
Not 2 of them.
Oh, I see. Okay, that was a typo, because the other item is actually a modular unit.
Yeah.
I apologize for that, that's a graphic error.
The other one is for lift stations. You can put the guys in the lift station.
Well, we better get the lift station first before.
Yeah. So now, one of the things that I do want to mention to you is I believe that I have a situation or a solution to this relocation that is not going to be as expensive as a full lift station. Again, my experience with lift stations based on PUB specifications are that they're very, very expensive, and a new lift station would cost between $100,000 and $150,000. Our lift stations here at the port are much smaller, and like when a PUB lift station is about 25 to 30 horsepower. Well, the PUB people left already. When those lift stations are larger, our lift stations are 1 to 5 horsepower pumps. So they're much smaller, and there's a very good chance that we can get this well below what I'm estimating here. So
How many lift stations do we have?
Couldn't
we have about, excuse me.
I mean, the kind of think where you're going is that couldn't we reduce the number of lift stations by having, instead of all of these so many far, is go to lesser numbers, bigger, and eliminate? I mean, lift station is just another component, something else that can break on the system.
Well, one of the things that we discussed exactly on yesterday's staff meeting was exactly that situation of all the lift stations we have on the south side. The way that the system exists, we cannot reduce the lift stations without some significant changes. Because in particular on the south side, I think we have too many lift stations, but the way the gravity lines are designed, they force us to have them to keep them where they are. So because see what they did is they dropped the gravity line to a point, then put a lift station, and then started gravity again in this direction and put another lift station here. We could have saved this lift station if gravity had come back this other way. But the gravity line is the other way. So.
I saw where PUB received like $45 million to redo all their lift stations. If we looked at making a more efficient system, so to speak, and reduce the number of lift stations, could we apply for state or federal money for something like this?
Well, I have asked PUB that in the future, if they see opportunities out there that could involve, because they're still looking at whether or not it would be viable to take over the system, that it could involve funding to help accomplish that we would be interested in pursuing that. I can't tell you. I know that they went through a state fund for this. I mean, it's through the Water Development Board. I think that the state kind of did it. If there is a possibility, you know, I've asked them to certainly look at that or keep that in mind, and if the opportunity avails itself, that, you know, we would be willing to, you know, partner or whatever to try to do that. But it looks like, I guess, it would include a lot more than the lift stations. Probably need to reconfigure the whole distribution system to be able to take advantage of reducing the number of lift
So we'd have
stations.
to dig everything and then
Yeah,
Well, not everything,
But you'd have to,
be
yeah,
readjusted,
you're gonna
the
have to
grades have to be
reconfigure the
changed.
distribution system.
So,
But
at this
that's a
point,
possibility.
without going into replacement of gravity lines and regrading of gravity lines, we can't eliminate any of our lift stations.
Not at this point.
Would it be worth doing the required engineering studies so we know what we're looking at? I mean, I don't know how much that would cost, but I mean, we're getting ready to go into our new fiscal year. Yeah.
I mean, we can add it to our list and, you know, from a priority standpoint, take it, see if it's something we need to do now or we can put off on that. On the other hand, too, is that we did hire a very qualified civil engineer whose expertise is water and sewer.
That's
So
what I was gonna say.
Sorry about that.
No, really, my field is water and wastewater,
So-
and, I mean,
yeah, we could
Next week we'll have
do
something
that.
for us.
Yeah, he'll have it completely designed and ready to go by next meeting.
not only will I have that,
And the cost, please.
I already have my dream for developing some of the areas that don't have sewer.
Yeah.
And one of the things is like this area right here, my, you know, without doing a topo yet, I would put a lift station in the middle here and gravity lines to here and to here, and then pump it into the other lift station that we have here. So I mean, I've already been thinking about that, and the same on this other side, because there's some areas that don't have any sewer right now.
But that's all on the north side.
Yeah,
Yes.
But on the south
Well,
side
on
is
the
what we're
south-
talking.
Yeah, on the south side, we don't have sewer all the way, but it's like that, so.
Okay, now, so,
We have the capability
We'll
to
do it in-house. Okay, cool. That's great.
Well, anyway, that's been in my mind.
well, let me ask you a question before we vote on this. If we look at it and get then we can authorize this, but before you actually spend the money, know whether, 'cause we don't want to go tear up a street or anything after we've built a new street. We don't want to go tear it up. So if we're going to move the lift station over, and we're going to spend, I'm looking in the back up here, somewhere close to between $100,000 and $120,000. How much would it cost to, you know, put a lift station in the middle and change the, you know, one grade and do that?
I can.
Just,
give you numbers.
can you look at that? I mean, even if we authorize this today, so we don't stop the project, but if you can go back into that and get a number, and then, because you can always do like a change order before you even go out for the bid for anybody to do this, but a change in the budget to do this, if we can eliminate some of those lift stations.
Well, it's a totally different situation from here, but yes, we you know, that's something that I've been thinking about, like I said, and I haven't put any numbers to it, but it's definitely gonna be substantially more than 120.
So
You know, this is probably about, I mean, to redo the stuff on the south side, to the way that I probably would have done it if I'd had started it, it's probably gonna cost between $500,000 and $1 million.
So your recommendation,
But that's
on
not
a
gonna
financial
affect it.
standpoint, is just to change this right now, right?
Well, no, see, these just need to be moved away from the road.
That's what I mean.
And if they're gonna
Financially,
stay
it's cheaper
there,
right now
yes.
to do that.
Yeah, but how much does it cost to maintain all of these lift stations? In other words, what would the cost offset be to, if we move, I mean, right now we can move them, and then if we could find out what the cost offset would, if it would pay to move this, not only in efficiency, but also in maintenance dollars, what it would cost, just to get a ballpark. Yeah, I don't expect you to answer that question or not, 'cause that's a pretty big order. But, you know, because I know it costs money to maintain these stations,
Yeah.
and we have quite a few of them. So if we could eliminate the amount of stations we had to maintain, that could offset the cost of doing some of this work.
Well, see, this is gonna be fairly quick work because we need to get it ready for the paving. But, you know, if I had money to regrade that sewer line, I may be able to eliminate one of the ones that we're talking about right now. But, you know, that's not something that I think we can afford to do right now.
But just eliminating one wouldn't be worth doing, I mean, spending that kind of money.
It needs to be a package that addresses the whole system.
Yes.
And that's not gonna be 120.
Oh, I realize.
I think I'm gonna spend less than what we have there because I've got some ideas that I, you know, that I think are gonna save some money.
All right, we got a motion by Commissioner Reed, second by Commissioner Lopez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item carries.
Modify the language on that.
Item number 10, consideration and action to authorize port staff to advertise for bids on a modular office unit for the port's wastewater plant operators and related personnel at the fishing harbor.
And this is again something that we saw on the presentation. We saw the office that they're in right now and what we've been looking at. So
The only question I have, is it gonna be on the same side, or are you gonna move it to another side?
okay, that's a very good question. The plan that we have right now is to move it on the site that is next to the fishing harbor plant.
Okay.
In fact, we put a new driveway to that site.
And the
That's
old
one of
one,
the new driveways that we
you'll
put in.
demolish, you'll take away?
Yeah, that one's just gonna be.
And one of the problems with its location is because it's metal and because it's in this prevailing breeze, you know, that only accelerates the rust and the corrosion. So we're actually gonna put it on what would be the south side of the plant. And so it'll be away from the prevailing breeze.
Here's the plant, and there's the property here that used to be occupied by, I think was it Foremost Paving?
So we'll put it there.
And that's the site where we wanna put the new, in fact, that's where I really wanna give them their office, their permanent, you know, brick and mortar office.
Mr. Chavez, the bids that you're gonna take or do, is it, you're bidding for a building that's already, an office that's already built?
Ready to go, ready to
Yeah,
go.
it's
You're
modular.
not gonna try to see if they built one, if it's cheaper?
We looked at the numbers, and see, that's why, like I mentioned during the presentation, the way that I had looked at the numbers, if we were gonna actually build them something that is with walls and everything, you know, we were looking at well over $100,000. And right now, the budget amount that we have is only 35. And our research indicates that we will come below that with the bids.
We've been talking about that contractors and everything, they're having a hard time, so I would imagine there'd be some low bid.
But this would be substantially less than
Yes.
building.
Yes.
Because even if you built an 1,800 square foot to 2,400 square foot, it's gonna be substantially more.
But- And another thing, we can take this modular building, and if we build, let's say later things, times improve, we move that, we can use this modular building for different projects that we might need a portable office for to move to another place for a project. Just, you know, I mean, it gives us some flexibility there.
And like I said, that's why I wanted to do this now, because if we keep waiting and we can't up the budget, you know, these guys are gonna be, I mean.
So in other words, you're gonna buy a mobile office?
Did we look at some of those,
The one that we showed up.
I mean,
those little mini mobiles that are coming from,
Yeah, but they're coming from Florida going to Mexico. Similar to that.
similar to that?
Yeah, no, it'll be a little bit more specced out.
Okay,
It's like
We're
a
not getting one of the
two-office
leftover Katrina ones, right?
No,
okay.
Well, see, in our research, we looked at used and new. And my decision was to go with new, and it falls within the budget, at least the preliminary numbers that we've researched, and there's not that big of a difference between the new and the used, so, you know.
But they're already finished inside of it.
Yes.
Really
Yeah.
nice.
They're air conditioned, they've got
Now, the
restrooms,
way
they've
that
got
we're
everything.
speccing it and the numbers that I'm citing to you are spec with them coming in and putting it there. All we're gonna do is tie in the utilities, but they're moving it and anchoring it and everything. We're not
Everything.
doing any of that.
Okay.
They're gonna put the hurricane ties and everything
They're gonna
on
do
it.
all of that. They're gonna be moving it, they're gonna be setting it, anchoring it, and the only thing we need to do is tie the utilities. So we're gonna need to get a new meter and all that for and it's gonna, I expect that it'll fall within the budget. If our research proves true, it'll fall within the budget, including the utility connections and all that.
Well, we'll
Can you
find
put
out.
some skirting around?
That's included in the spec.
All right, we got a motion by Commissioner Reed. Do we have a second? Seconded by Commissioner Aramblo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item carries. Okay, it's now 6:37 PM and we're adjourning into executive session.